all. Yes. Next. She tested their hearing by whispering very softly. Oh, she whispered in their ears, "Can you hear me?" Now there's Sister Bear and Brother Bear and Dr. Grizzly whispering in their ears. Yeah, that's so good that Dr. Grizzly whispered in their ears. You know, there are certain tests that I disagree with as a father. Yes. There's the PKU test. Oh, maybe Heidi remembers when Benjamin was born. Yes. And it was Dr. Blue Eyes because you told me Dr. Blue Eyes has such blue eyes. Yes. I was in the actual room when Benjamin was born. I cut the umbilical cord. Yeah. hmm He was born on Guam. Yeah, that's where his birth certificate was issued from. Now, when I left my wife after the birth of my son, yes, somebody decided to do a PKU test where they test the blood for what could be some sort of disease, right? And I specifically did write in the consent forms for the pregnancy there would not be any medical procedures without my written consent because I didn't want you to take his blood. Now, why don't you get me every PKU test of every child born in the United States? And then that blood test that tests for various illnesses at the time of birth. Now, there's this possibility right now that somebody wanted to go so green as to sow direct current into the bodies of little babies. Yes, because of some corrupt doctors and hospitals. Now, as a father, right, if I find out, right, that there's any direct current in the bodies of any child, yes, I will sue you. I will sue you. So every PKU test for the last 20 years, women, infants, and children, and all the blood tests of every American born in this nation for the last 20 years. Now, it looked to me that Homeland Security, are you federal employees? Excuse me. You know, I emailed every field office of the Department of Homeland Security, yes, informing them that my civil rights were being violated. And each of those federal employees in the Department of Homeland Security is required as a whistleblower. Ouch. Could you get me the 14 PPPs again? Could you get me the 14 PPPs? It looks to me that Homeland Security wanted to sow into the blood of America's babies. And as a citizen of the United States, when you ignore, I know you're liable. That department, known as Homeland Security right now. I'm telling you, for every federal employee in Homeland Security, that is a condition of employment, is required to report any fraud, waste, or abuse. I thought for sure that you were liable as a department of the United States federal government. I'm going to need to know the Secretary of Homeland Security. Ooch. Janet. Jane. Who was it that arranged for the birth of Benjamin on Guam? And why did we move to Guam? Well, we were going to move to Alaska. Heidi, do you remember when the Lord told you? See, my wife and myself were thinking about moving to Alaska. And God showed up on her while she was taking a nap. She came downstairs when we were living in our house in Vancouver. And she said, the Lord said, if we move to Alaska, that one of our children will die. No. I never doubted my wife's ability to hear from God. Now, exactly what God was speaking to her, that God was going to kill one of our children. Now, we ended up moving to Airway Heights and we spent some time really trying to find that right place to be. Yes, we did. Heidi, have you been hearing from God again? Did God tell you something that you didn't want me to know as your husband? Because I think it is fraud, waste, and abuse. Yes, to not give me notice of court hearings when issuing a dissolution of marriage. Have you been hearing from God, Heidi? Have you...